All right, welcome to another edition of another Dooley Noted podcast. Appreciate everybody for joining us, and some of you are watching us on Facebook and YouTube right now, which you can do every Monday and Friday. Not this Friday. This Friday is Christmas. We will be taking that off. We're not all Grinches here. You can listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, on WRUF.com, where you can also go read the Back Nine, which is up, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And one thing that we're trying to do is continue to bring you great guests. Instead, we got Robbie Andreu to come in today.
You went mediocre for this one.
That's right. Of course, Robbie and I both retired a couple of weeks ago, and we're both we're loving life. But I think we feel a little bit left out when you have a championship game. And to me, Robbie, it never felt like a championship game, but day. You know, the whole day didn't feel
the build-up didn't. But once the game got going, Pat, I was fine with it, sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Enjoying the game for a change instead of working real hard. But since we retired, we see more of each other than we did when we were working together.
Why is
How did that happen?
I don't know. And I'm hoping
you're working too much.
I am, but I'm hoping you're going to see more of Robbie, because we have just a few openings for sponsors, and one of them is for a segment with Robbie once a week that we'd like to do. However, we got to get the man paid, so we got to get somebody to sponsor. If anybody, or you could pay us not to have a segment with Robbie.
That would probably work better, Pat.
We could do that. Just
keep me off the air.
We could do that. There's no question about it. But we do appreciate our sponsors, of course, our title sponsors. ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI do such a great job. We'll get to the Millhopper Leonardo's quick picks in a little bit. I want to run some of them by you too, Robbie. Of course, 3 things. We're still going to get to 3 things, all that and more. We'll talk about the game. And I'm sure, Robbie, you were like me at halftime. You were like, well, yeah, at least I didn't get shut out.
Yeah, I kind of felt, the thing is they've got defensive stops without the penalties, and it would have been a different maybe half. But yeah, you had the feeling that they were going to bring the hammer down, like we talked about last week in the third quarter. But Florida kept going up and down the field and scoring, and took a little bit control there in the third quarter. I was very impressed with what they did.
I was sitting there, and I was literally, they were, when Florida got the ball back, what was there, 16 seconds left?
Yeah.
You knew they weren't going to.
No.
But I just kept thinking, where's my Lindsey Scott?
I know.
How come I can't have one Lindsey Scott in my lifetime?
Unfortunately, it never got to a chance for anything to happen.
And that's the thing, is the fact that they had the ball theoretically, mathematically, with a chance to win the game at the end of the game. I don't think anybody thought that was going to be the case.
And the fact they had a chance to kick an onside kick with 2:15, was it, to go? I mean, they get that, and the way they were going, they would have won that game. But I never understood, why did he go for 2? After that last score, I didn't get that.
That made no sense at all.
Then you would have had to, if they don't make it, you have to go for 2 to tie. I didn't get that.
I don't know. I can't. I've been trying to think it through.
Was it to make the score look closer? But it couldn't be, because it was time to win the game.
That was the old Gene Ellenson. Or no, who was that? Ed Kensler.
Yeah.
Made him go for 2 in the Missouri
Sugar Bowl. Yeah.
I never did understand that. There's a lot of things I didn't understand about that game, but obviously where Florida got really hurt was early, when the defense wasn't playing terrible. They were getting stops and just stupid things.
Like hand to the face, where you've got to stop, get off the field. And then when I saw that flag, I go, well, that must be holding. Yeah. But then the only thing it could have been was this, and they got him for it.
Yeah,
and he did it. It was obvious.
And some of the other mistakes they made, obviously were in the game. When if you could get stops, it might have made a difference. And then you kind of come back and you do something good, but you give up that score right at the end of the half. And
that was killer.
That was the opposite of what they wanted to do.
And the Trey Dean turnover was a killer too.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets the pick, and the very next play after he fumbles, they throw a touchdown pass.
Well, here's a couple things, Robbie, and I'm just going to throw these at you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Number one, what why was that not looked at for targeting on that play?
I don't know. I mean, they mentioned it, but nothing ever happened.
I thought it was blatant targeting, and he came from you can't cross block at somebody. You can't.
But can you cross tackle somebody?
But apparently you can, and you can use your helmet too.
It was a brutal hit, really. It really was. But the minute he picked it and started running, I told my wife, Jill, I think he was going to fumble, because I saw people flying at him. It's like, uh-oh. Yeah. So it didn't shock me when it popped down.
But then the second thing is, if you put a freshman in the game who's played a little bit this year, why would you not say, hey, wherever this guy is, we need to protect him. We need to have double coverage.
Instead, they burned him for a touchdown.
Yeah. Devontae Smith was open all day.
But how did they get Devontae Smith one-on-one with a true freshman safety? How do you let that happen? Isn't there a system in place?
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say his name.
Okay. TG.
I'm not going to say third and Grantham. I'm not going to do that. No, look, I think that there are some numbers, Robbie, that I used in the back nine today that I'm going to bring up here as well. How about this? Florida right now is giving up 28.5 points a game. Okay,
that's unbelievable.
The record all time was 29.3. That was set.
They're right at the record.
That was set in 1946.
I
think the boys were all at war.
Yeah, or just coming back.
Or coming back from war. Yeah.
But that's a little bit ridiculous.
Okay. This year, Florida's given up 249 first downs. Last year, or the worst they ever did was the Tebow year of when he won the Heisman, 2007. They give up 262. So unless they can hold Oklahoma to under 13 first downs,
which is not going to
happen, they're going to set an all-time record. And I talked about this early in the season. I said, this defense has a chance to be historically bad.
Yeah, you were right.
And it has turned out to be. I can't explain it, really.
Yeah, these are the kind of records you don't want, the records they're setting on defense right now. And I mean, it's hard to figure out, Pat. They've got good players, good athletes, guys that can run and hit. Something's wrong.
It's just like the Sean Davis mystery.
Yeah, where did he go?
We don't know where he's been. He's
a big part of that secondary.
Yeah.
I mean,
all of a sudden he's just gone. We don't know if it's COVID or lupus or
what. Who knows? Yeah.
But it hadn't been so much injuries. I mean, guys just haven't played well. Brenton Cox in that game, all he did was run around.
Yeah, he never got to
he ran right around the quarterback, and the quarterback just stepped up in the pocket and threw. He's got to learn how to have other
separate.
moves.
Yeah. But that Alabama line was pretty.
It
has been good all year, and it was good again the other night.
They are really good. And look, you gave up how many points? 62, 52?
52, 46.
52 points to a team that scores 52 points all the time.
They were right on their average.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that's what they are. They are a great football team, and it'll be interesting to see how well they do in the playoffs, but I think everybody's pretty much penciling in.
I think this may be one of his best teams, Pat Saban.
It might be, yeah.
Trask had a big game, but most normal quarterbacks aren't going to do what he did.
Trask and Matt Corral had big games.
Yeah.
But everybody else, they thought they had figured out things defensively, but then Florida just goes up and down the field. One thing about it, though, the saddest thing about that game was because I knew Kyle Pitts was playing his last game. I knew he was going to play a bowl game. And I just feel like, I hope we all appreciated how much fun it was to watch him, especially this year.
And what a way to go out with that great touchdown catch. His last reception as a Gator. That was a great play. And you look at pictures of that. He's so high up in the air above everybody bringing that ball down. What an amazing athlete.
He is just a freakish athlete. And, it's great that we got to watch him for as long as we did. And I don't know if Kyle Trask will be back, and I assume he's going to play in the Cotton Bowl. That's going to be the interesting thing.
Knowing him, he will, Pat.
Well, the SEC put the real clamps on the SEC teams and said, you will play in the bowl game. We insist. And the only two teams not playing in bowl games are LSU, self-imposed, which nobody's going to buy anyway, and then Vanderbilt, which you can understand.
Yeah.
They went 0-10. They couldn't have a bowl team that went 0-10.
What about LSU, though? Those Ole Miss players were celebrating before the game was over the other day.
I know.
And they were like going wild on the sideline, thinking, you're not very smart. And, of course, they got beat.
Well, that's what they do.
Dummy,
just dummy. But, so anyway, the bowl game, it's the first time Florida's ever played in the Cotton Bowl, right?
Yeah.
It does kind of complete the Grand Slam. All they got left, not completed.
New Year's Six.
All they've got is the Rose Bowl, I guess, left, right?
Yeah.
Played in every other bowl game. So you got that going for you. I just wonder how many guys are really going to want to come back and play.
I know. That's going to be, guys like Tony, is he going to want to play again? He's pretty much set himself up for the NFL now.
You've made your money.
Yeah, he has.
If you're Stone Forsythe, you made your money. I think I saw a stat where he had no hurries when he was in the game. I mean,
and Grimes, he almost opted out for the year. He's probably going to opt out, you would think. But Pat, I think Tony's going to be a great NFL receiver because he's going to get man-to-man. And how do you stick with a guy that quick. It's unbelievable.
He is.
I wouldn't want to try to cover him.
He's got a chance to be really good. And so kind of like when you look at this season now, Robbie. All right, they're 8-3, and that's not what anybody wanted. Everybody wanted the ultimate, and I get that. And I was thinking about this today. Just think what would have happened if you had given Florida. There would have been no COVID. Florida had the same schedule they were going to have.
We're going to have, yeah. With
which
the
was a
full
soft schedule.
Yeah.
And they would have probably been playing Alabama for seeding.
Yeah. They probably would have, you're right.
I don't think it would have been for to get in or to not have a chance to get in.
Pat, if Florida had beaten LSU.
That's the other thing.
Would they have had a chance to get in with a 2-loss thing? I think they might have gotten in.
I don't think they would have, but I think there was a chance.
There would have been strong consideration. The Notre Dame thing doesn't do anything for me. I mean, are you even going to watch that game?
Notre Dame.
And your thing about Ian Book being a Heisman candidate?
I was wrong about that. I was wrong about that.
I called that one.
But yeah, I mean, for Florida, you get a chance to go play in a big, but there's no swag. There's nothing coming.
No, you just go play a game and come home.
It just depends on how much you want to play football, and maybe look, the coaches all want it. Yeah,
practice, get ready for next year.
They get to practice.
Yeah,
and maybe they go into this game with and tell guys like Kyle Trask, hey, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You had a great career. If you don't want to play, we get it.
That might be the best thing for Florida. Turn it over to Emory. Let them play a full game with the receivers and see how they do. And because you're getting ready for next year, that's what the bowl game is going to be about.
And they wouldn't have any idea
what to expect.
Yeah.
What would your defensive game plan be if you didn't have Trask to go against?
I know.
Jones instead.
It would be totally different. Totally different. And again, Emory played a little bit in that game, not very much, but yeah, I don't know.
Once again, they wouldn't let him throw the ball.
I know.
Every time he goes in, they know he's going to run.
I keep thinking every game, I go, this is the time that he's going to throw.
I predicted he was going to throw a deep ball in that game, but no, nothing.
I think a lot of what happens is they think, well, this team is going to think this is the time we're going to throw it, and we'll run it, because he runs it and he gets 6 yards every time.
This is the Ron Zook theory, though.
That's right.
Don't do it because they think they're going to do it, even though they know they're not going to do it.
If we knew you knew, that we knew, that they knew, that you knew, that we knew, that they knew.
If you know what I mean.
Then we would run something. All right. We're going to do 3 things in just a minute, but we do have a Facebook question, and you can be a sponsor of the Facebook question. We're working on getting some of the details done on that too. We even got me on Cameo today. What about that?
That's awesome.
Well,
who's going to want your Cameo?
Nobody is. Yeah. We'll get somebody to want one. My wife wouldn't even. If you sent a Cameo to my wife, and
shut you right down.
Hi, Karen. Boom.
Boom. Delete.
All right, this is from Daniel. Dan got a lot of work to do on that D this off season. Well, yes, he does. The trouble is, Robbie, is they've got to have guys who come in, guys like whether it's Wingo or D1 Black.
Dexter. Look at Dexter.
Dexter's going to have to be.
He played a lot the other night. I think he's going to be really good now.
But you're again going to have that issue in the middle where you only had Slayton and Campbell this year. How are you going to solve that problem? And they've got to get better at defensive back. I'm going to get to that in a minute in 3 things.
Pat, I haven't questioned. People have questioned Grantham, but I'm starting to question Torian Gray because they do not look organized back there. They've got guys wide open all the time. I mean, there's something amiss there.
Well, the thing to me, Robbie, that drove me crazy is even in this game, we're seeing guys running around trying to get
lined up in time.
It's the 11th game of the year.
You should know what your assignment is and be in a position to carry it out. And they're not doing that. They didn't do it.
No, they did not do it. But we're saying all this negative stuff, and they were within 6 points.
I know.
A team that's going to win the national championship. All right, we right now I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do 3 things, and we'll let Robbie be part of it. That's quite an honor in your life,
thanks.
Robbie.
I really appreciate it. Okay. Merry Christmas to me.
All right, it's time for 3 things. And again, I think we're close to a sponsor on 3 things. I hope we are. Here are the 3 things Florida better get better at, okay? And if they want to, they're right on the cusp of being one of those teams that makes life frustrating for everybody.
Well, Pat, they played Alabama's probably going to be the national champion this year. So they played the two last national champions toe-to-toe, basically.
Right.
So they're close. They're really close to being that elite team that everybody wants them to be, especially Dan Mullen.
They are, but they, okay, that's where you are. There's here, there's here, and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
You're here.
You're right there, getting there.
And for a long time, you were down here.
Yeah.
But to get there, to get to that point. All right, so here's number one of the three things Florida must get better at next year. Number one, turnover margin, Robbie. Turnover margin this year was -2.
That was, I mean, they could not get turnovers on defense, Pat. And that's a sign that you're not flying around, playing, having fun, playing aggressive football. They were sitting back reacting more than they were flying around this year.
They also had 9 fumbles this year that they lost, which is way too many.
Very critical. And the fumbles were big the other night. The fumble with Dean was really big.
No question.
And then the Trask fumble.
They only got 14 turnovers all year in 11 games. That's, you want to get multiple turnovers, especially in big games, and they just didn't do it.
And Grantham's defense is the fly around, make stuff happen. We didn't see it all year. It never happened.
All right, number 2 is, and you remember this, Robbie, we were down in Miami. I was starting to say Fort Lauderdale, but it was really Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So interviewing John Hevesy before this was the day before
the Orange
Bowl game. And he said, look, we know we can't be unbalanced next year. We've got to get balanced. We've got to get that back. How'd that work out for you?
Not good at all.
No.
I mean, they
still put up incredible numbers.
Yeah, but once again, it came to they're an all-pass offense. And when you don't have a running game, that puts all kinds of pressure on your quarterback. And Trask handled it well most of the time, but there were times where they did struggle and couldn't keep up in a slugfest. Right.
And you would think they'll be more of a running team next year.
You would hope they're going to have a bunch of good backs now.
But 109th in rushing Florida is going into the bowl game.
It's the offensive line, Pat.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. There was one play when Naquan Wright took the ball and ran right into somebody's back, and it was almost like he was like one of those, what do you call those, Roombas?
Yeah.
Like he just walked in, okay, I guess this is as far as I can go. I can't go anywhere else. So I think the backs, too, have to get better. But the line is not good.
Early in that game, Pat, they couldn't run, and Mullen just said, "The hell with it, we're throwing every down." And I told Jill, don't ever waste a play running the ball now. From here on out, throw it every down.
And that's what they did, and they were actually going empty a lot, too.
And it almost worked. Yeah. It almost worked to the point they won the game.
Think about that. They had no running game and lost by 6.
And scored 46.
And no defense.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
All right, and number 3 for me on 3 things, and this is one that drives me crazy. Bring back DBU. What happened to DBU?
I don't know, Pat.
It just vanished. It went away. Just by saying you're DBU doesn't make you DBU.
No. Signing 4-star guys doesn't make you DBU. You got to do it on the field. They've got 4-star guys back there, Pat. It's not like there aren't talented guys back there, which to me again brings in coaching. They do not look well coached to me.
Well, think about this. Florida this year, going into the bowl game again, is 95th in pass efficiency defense. 95th.
That is pitiful.
In the country. This was a school where you came to play DB because it was DBU. All right, you want to make an argument, Ohio State? They had a good argument. You want to make an argument, LSU? They had a good argument. There were 4 or 5 schools that were arguing about it. Florida's not in the argument anymore.
No, they're long gone, long forgotten in that regard.
And they've got to do a better job of that, and they've got to.
Every year, but Pat, every year they sign 4 or 5 4-star DBs, and yet now you're running out of options back there.
I think, and again, I never say that a coach should be fired or try to tell a head coach what to do, and it's kind of Scott Strickland's philosophy. So if I tell you got to get rid of him, go get this guy, then if that doesn't work out, it's my fault, not yours.
Yeah.
So,
but there needs to be serious evaluation going on here.
Absolutely. All right, we got another Facebook question. That was 3 things, by the way, and we appreciate whoever our sponsor is going to be. I think we're going to hear something this week on that. So Michael wants to know, his Facebook question, can Trask still win the Heisman? Robbie, we can't tell who we voted for.
No.
I did point out in my column that the guy I voted for, his name rhymes with Flask.
I'm with you on that, Pat. He can win it. I'm telling you, he can. You look at the numbers that he put up, the fact that he did not have an elite running back like the other quarterback candidates did, and to put the numbers he did up, I can see how he could win it, and I could see how we could vote for him to win it.
Well, yeah, we could. And look, there's a lot of candidates. I don't think there was an easy choice this year. I think You had Trask, you had Devontae Smith, you had, I think Trevor Lawrence deserved consideration. I think certainly Mac Jones, who may end up winning it. And there were a couple of other guys that I think a lot of people believed should be in the mix, but I think it was going to. I thought that game. We all said that game was going to be for the Heisman Trophy, and in a way it was. But
I think the 3 top candidates were in that game, though, Pat.
There's no doubt. Yeah, so, maybe 4. Yeah. Although Najee Harris,
he had a great game.
He had an unbelievable game. He's been good this year, but he hasn't been Heisman good. But he was Heisman good Saturday.
Yeah, and he's one of the reasons Mac Jones is a Heisman contender, because they've got a running game, and he never gets sacked, never gets touched.
And that's another thing that Michael wants to know. Will a Bama player split the vote to help Trask? And there is a possibility of that. Now, you got to understand that, you know, it's divided into areas of the country.
Yeah.
And so you never know whether it's really going to be truly split or not, whether guys are going to say, you know, the guy in Topeka is going to say, you know, I want to vote for that Devontae Smith because a receiver's never won it and ends up taking away from Mac Jones.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't even vote for Mac Jones. No, you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to be fascinated to see how the vote broke down when it does come out.
Yeah, there definitely could. It definitely could split the 2 Bama guys and maybe hurt both of them.
Right, absolutely.
And if it hurt, I think the guy that's going to get hurt most is Mac Jones, because Smith has got all this momentum now at the end of the year, and people are talking about him being the best in college football. So I think he's going to. Is he the favorite now, Pat, do you think?
He is the favorite,
okay,
actually.
I think he is,
I will
too.
say he's on my ballot. I'm not going to say where.
That game he had the other night was unbelievable. But Florida did help him. They didn't even try to cover him, it didn't look like.
He's a really good player. Put a guy on him.
Yeah.
Put 2 guys on him.
That was the best defense he could have faced for his Heisman
and that's
push.
the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing is with Pitts, you know, again, they tried to double cover him. That wasn't
Didn't matter,
enough,
yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
Did Florida ever double cover him? Or
no,
was
sometimes they zero covered him.
Yeah, wide open all over the field.
On him. Don't worry about it. Go run down the field. You're only an All-American. We're not going to worry about you.
That one man coverage on one of his touchdowns, and I think it was Wilson. It was like he was repelled by his. You know, he would move and he'd move away like this.
So he had all this space. Well, that's what Karen said. He didn't even try to cover.
He didn't. He didn't try.
All right, so we did 3 things. Now it is time to do our Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Pick Contest. And last week we had 2 winners. 2 guys went unbeaten against the spread, Pete Nylam and Gary Hussey, who's won twice now. And all you guys are going to go into that big gift basket drawing that we're going to have at the end of the year. Now we're going to keep coming up with these because we do have bowl games and NFL games going on. And I didn't know this, Robbie. There's a bowl game going on right now on Monday.
You're kidding.
No, I didn't.
I can't believe it's so late in the.
And there's another one tomorrow.
Well, isn't Florida in a bowl game a week from Wednesday? Is that what it is?
I believe it is.
That's hard to believe.
No, it's the 30th. What day is that?
Well, Christmas is Friday.
Okay, that's right around then.
So,
I think it is Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now.
That's amazing. Usually it's like 3 weeks between the last game and the bowl game.
Tomorrow, Tuesday, or if you're watching this on Tuesday, today, and if you've already watched it yesterday, the Boca Bowl is going on. BYU versus UCF. And Brigham Young is a 6-point favorite, so that's the first game you got to pick. And again, email these into me. We got flooded with them. It took me a long time on, actually on Sunday to add them all up because so many people sent in emails. Here's something. I'm going to be surprised if you knew this, Robbie. I didn't know it, and now I do know it. I've checked into why it's happened. The Gasparilla Bowl is going on Saturday.
Yeah.
South Carolina's playing in it.
They're in a bowl game?
They're 2-8.
They should have opted out, Pat. I'm sorry.
The SEC said
no. You can opt out.
Don't opt out. We want you playing. We want you to get the exposure. We want you to help out the network. It'll help us.
But it will help them too because a new coach in there now. He's already taken over, right?
He gets to watch them practice.
He can evaluate.
Well, they're playing UAB, and amazingly, South Carolina is a 6-point favorite.
They're going to take an L in that one.
Okay, that's his advice. I didn't say it.
I'm telling you.
That's the Gasparilla Bowl. I think you'll need Gasparilla if you had to watch that game. And look, I'm the guy who never says there's too many bowls. But if you got 2-8 teams in them, there may be too many.
God.
But again, there's not too many bowls. There's not enough bowls. They only have 30-something bowls, and
You got to fill them with somebody.
You got,
so you get 2 and 8 in there.
I think 6 teams opted out from the ACC, and I think 5 from the Big 12. So you got to put somebody in there.
Will Tennessee be in a bowl game?
They're in a bowl game.
But they're under investigation now, right?
They're still in a bowl game, though. Well, maybe they'll opt out and say, we're taking our punishment now.
They could.
Nobody's proven anything yet, but we're still going to take it.
Is he going to survive? Prove it.
I don't see how you can be that bad.
This long into it.
And be under investigation.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I know he wouldn't last year. All right, the 2 NFL games you get to pick from. The Dolphins are at, I don't know if they're at Vegas or not. I think they're at Vegas, yeah. Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites against the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's a Saturday game. And then Indy at Pittsburgh, 2.5-point favorites for Pittsburgh on Sunday. So just real quickly, I'll go through those again because you want to get them in on Facebook. To my email account. Boca Bowl, BYU 6-point favorite over UCF. That's tomorrow, Tuesday. Gasparilla Bowl, Saturday, South Carolina. 6-point favorite over Alabama and Birmingham. And then Miami, 2.5 over Vegas. Indy gets 2.5 points against Pittsburgh. So that is our Leonardo's Millhopper quick pick contest. We appreciate Kyle over at Leonardo's for being a part of this, and we enjoy it very much. All right, quickly, Robbie, we got one other question. Long-time reader.
I think it's a comment, not a question.
Oh, hope you both are enjoying retirement.
From a long-time reader, Daniel. Well, thank you, Daniel. We really appreciate that.
I think Robbie's enjoying it more than I am.
Retirement? Yeah, I am. Because you're working too much. Retire means retire, not work.
I thought it meant you get tired.
No. You don't work anymore. You're not supposed to work. Or not for a while. After 44 years, don't you deserve a break?
I can't.
You're not getting one.
I don't do that. That's not how I operate.
No, obviously it's not.
Well, we want to thank Robbie Andreu for being on here. And again, we do have some sponsorship opportunities available. And one of them is to sponsor a Robbie Andreu segment on the show once a week. Just get in touch with me. You guys know how to reach me. I give my phone number out every week, 352-317-3444. No big whoop.
That's an easy one to remember.
It is. I have not forgotten it yet. Although I did forget.
Even I remember your number.
I did forget my Social Security card today.
You did?
Our number, yeah. Well.
How'd you get that back?
I figured
Worked your way through it?
Yeah, worked my way through it.
You need to retire, Pat.
But if you want to get involved with Robbie and be involved in this, just give me a call. We right now are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to bring on Tim Brando. You know him well from Fox Sports. Does a great job, and I know he's got some strong opinions about what the committee did on Sunday. We'll be right back. You're listening to or watching another duly noted podcast. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast. Appreciate Robbie Andreu for being on. Again, like I said, we've got sponsorships available. If you want to be part of that's very cool, and we'd love to have you. Also, the Leonardo's Millhopper Quick Pick Contest. I mentioned earlier, Pete Nylam and Gary Hussey both get your names into the drawing after winning last week. Both went 4-0. You guys should have gone to Vegas. You would have made more money doing that. Making those bets there. But I will say this: people have not done well on those, on the picks that we've had until this week. This week we actually had 5 guys. I think were 3-0 before the Florida game, and that it brought a couple of them down, unfortunately. And again, thanks to Leonardo's for doing that. I still can't, because it's weird how when you're paying attention to what's going on with Florida, and I'm watching that and seeing which bowl game are they going to, which teams they let in, and then you just kind of shut it off in your mind. You're not thinking about it anymore, and you're probably not watching it. I had no idea that all these SEC teams who had these all miserable years were going to these bowl games. Yet, there they are, somehow in them. South Carolina may be the most incredible one of all. All right, so in this weird world that we've been dealing with all this time, I know that it's been strange for people who are broadcasters or people like me who are retired now, semi-retired, but especially for a guy like Tim Brando who's had to get around and is still doing games. And Timmy B, it has been a weird year. I know that, and I don't know what it's been like for you, but I would guess crazy.
Yeah, all of the above, Pat. Great to talk to you again. And I was able to make the finish line. My partner, Spencer Tillman, almost made it. He was called off his plane about an hour before boarding on Thursday to get to Vegas for our Mountain West game. So he wasn't able to be with me for our final game of the year. Petros Papadakis came down from L.A., and he knows the teams in the Mountain West really well. So I was very fortunate to have him step in for Spencer. And, the amazing thing is that no one takes more precautions than him. He's as conscientious about this as anybody. He was, and still does, sit on the board of the Methodist Hospital and the DeBakey Institute. He's very well aware of what's going on around him. He took it to the nth degree. He wore gloves all the time. I didn't do that. I was careful, but I didn't wear gloves all the time. My mask was on when it needed to be on, but the moment that I got socially distanced, I took it off because it's constrictive, and particularly when you're on an airplane for 2.5 to 3.5 hours, it's kind of hard to sleep. I usually am a nose up, wheels up, eyelids down guy, but with that mask on, you're trying to breathe while you sleep, and my head would go back and my nasal passages would breathe in, the mask would come in, it would wake me up. Those are little things, and it's a nuisance, yeah, but it's not terribly sacrificial. It's not like you're sacrificing a ton, but you feel like you just need to take all the necessary steps that are needed in order to be good to go and able to broadcast the game, which was the ultimate goal. You wanted to stay positive and you wanted to test negative. And fortunately for me, through the course of this season, I did. The only game that we didn't get to call was the very game that we did call, or I got to call in the championship game, which was the Boise State San Jose State game, and turned out to be out in Vegas because those poor kids from San Jose were homeless for the last 3 weeks. Santa Clara County wouldn't let them work out, wouldn't let them come home. They wound up having to do weight training outside, went to Humboldt State, 3.5 hours north of San Jose in the Silicon Valley to practice. And they played in a condemned Aloha Stadium, a home game, and then they played 2 games in Vegas for home games. So I'd say they went through a lot more than we did, and I'm happy that we were able to get through the season, or at least I was able to get through the season unscathed. But I'm really glad there was a season. I said all along we should have one. The college football absolutely had to have it. Otherwise, it might be forever changed in a really negative way. We got a lot of problems in college football, many, many, many. But we didn't need to have no college football this year would have meant probably 25 to 30% of Division I would have been out of business. And a good portion that is in business would be in a business unlike they're accustomed had we not played.
Well, and that's the thing. I do give those players so much credit that what they had to go through, not only being away from their families, sometimes their families couldn't even go to games, and I give everybody that was involved with it a lot of credit. But we knew this was not going to be a fair season, right? We knew it wasn't. But yet everybody is so mad that it isn't fair now. And I'm like, hey, we got through it. We at least are going to have a championship. Look, I agree with what the basic principle is, which is a broken system that doesn't work. But at least we got through it, and we get to have games.
Yeah. No, we haven't had a fair system in college football forever.
Yeah,
it's not fair. It hasn't been fair forever. I've been spending the better part of 36 years pointing out its unfairness. So God only knows I'm aware it's unfair. I think the reason why so many more people are upset now is because everybody's more upset, period, this year. Everybody's mad. Everybody's frustrated and about more things. So it stands to reason that they'll be even more frustrated about this than maybe they have been in recent years. But Pat, the level of smugness and condescension that comes now from the committee, and an unwillingness to share anything with anybody about why they come up with what they come up with, and to just grab one nebulous piece of superfluous criteria that they can use against Cincinnati, but they somehow can't use against Ohio State, or they can't use against Notre Dame, but they can use it against Coastal Carolina. They can use it against Cincinnati, or whatever team is legitimately doing something special. It's reached a point now where we just have to absolutely say what it is, okay? It's not just unfair. It's not just unjust. It is corrupt. The college football, quote, P word, is a corrupt process. There are no checks and balances. There's no accountability. It is made up of a group of old coaches who just say, well, I saw them warm up, and that team looks a hell of a lot better than the other team. And it's made up of a bunch of college administrators, all representing the same group of people that are going to be lining their pockets with all the money. So I am more upset than I have been in past years, because there's a complicit nature within our media infrastructure now that allows for, okay, I'm not even going to ask you a follow-up. It used to be, if somebody gave you a response that was not very good, you were allowed a follow-up. Those poor guys on Tuesday night on ESPN, they don't even have a chance to follow up now. And by the way, if they did follow up, they'd get the same crap. So, I mean, it's just, it's beneath contempt, and is now corrupt in my mind. And I'm not calling it I'm not calling it a play. It's not. College football playoff implies that everybody has access. They don't. More than 40% of college football has zero access to this. Okay. This is a P5 only invitational. That's what it is. And only the brands need to apply. And we will take care of some brands better than others, because that's just the way it is. Texas A&M may think it's a great brand, and you know what, it is. But it's not the brand that Notre Dame is, and it's not the brand that Ohio State is. And you just found out, Texas A&M, this is where you are. So if you're wondering, gee, why are they doing this to us? Well, they're doing it to you because they do it to Cincinnati all the time, Coastal Carolina all the time, Boise State all the time. Name the team that has less brand, and they are going to get – it's not like they're just throwing them under the bus, Pat. This is throwing schools under the bus, then putting the bus in reverse and running over them again, and then putting it in hitting the accelerator and then running over it again. That's how bad it is. It's horrific. And if something isn't done between now and the start of the fall of this season, then people in our business are going to have to look at it and say, yeah, we're looking at ourselves in the mirror and we see the problem. It's us. Pat, I know you voted in the AP poll. I did too. I gave mine up before the AP gave it up in the BCS because they knew that it was a stacked deck. The AP got out of the business of polling for the BCS. I did it a year beforehand. This same AP poll decided to rank Ohio State for 7 weeks. They hadn't even fielded a team. They didn't even field a team. And we were ranking teams on the basis of brand. So this isn't just a situation about the rights holder. This is a situation where the media at large, okay, the media at large is allowing this to happen. It's wrong. And for anybody that's been in the business for any length of time to tell me that I'm wrong, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
Well, I will say this. I've never seen the outcry on a consistent basis that we've seen this year after what happened on Sunday. That, you know, there's usually been a guy here and a guy there, but everybody seems to be in the same thing. But I always tell people, look, it's like you've got the 5 families. You know, there's the Pac-12, the SEC. You know, the SEC is the head of the family, and they'll tell you whether there's going to be a horse's head in your
job of describing. You're doing a really nice job of using an analogy that would be right up there with the mob. I love it. That's beautiful. You got the 5 families: the family here, the family there, and the family. And it's the family or the mob with the best juice that's going to get taken care of. Mwah.
Yeah.
Goomba.
And you can't get into our.
It's amazing, Pat. This is the fact. You're right. You're absolutely right.
You can't get into our families either. We aren't letting anybody in.
Yeah. You try too hard, you know what we can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Meet you at the.
It is amazing. How surprised are you
that was
that
a great
we've seen movement with some coaches getting fired. In fact, way more coaches than I thought would get fired this year, with considering the money situation. But, you know, I also have learned a little. So you always learn something in your old age, that when people stop writing checks because they don't want you to have that same coach there, that's even worse than having a buyout where you can pay the coach overtime.
Yeah, apathy is always worse. It is, no doubt about it. That said, you know, it just is amazing to me how these institutions have lawyers that apparently barely got out of law school, and they are continually taken to school by one agent. Jimmy Sexton writes the same contract that every one of these schools in the SEC are buying, and they still keep doling out the cash, with the reality being they can hide behind the walls of their institution of higher learning saying, oh, but we're not doing this. No, because the donors are. Okay. we don't have to worry about it because this guy, and this guy are going to pony up the $21 million to get the Gus bus out of town at Auburn or wherever else. It's just it's amazing. But again, I go back to it. The universities should do a better job of protecting their interests. The people that they're hiring apparently just barely got out of law school, and that singular agent or agents. I mean, Jimmy's not the only one, but there's several others. But he pretty much owns the SEC, and this is how it works for people that don't know. He's really not lining the pockets of his client, the coach, not at all. There was a time I think he took some money from the coaches. He really doesn't anymore. All he does is guarantee that all those players that coach is recruiting sign with him when he goes to the NFL. That's the real payday. I mean, this is the way it works. And these schools are continuing to get into these contracts, and they always wind up making panic decisions. Every decision it's always a panic hire because of a knee-jerk fire. A knee-jerk reaction firing leads to a panicked hire. Auburn absolutely wrote the book on being the laughingstock of America when it comes to these kinds of stories. You know, whether it was Bobby Louder then or Jimmy Rain now, they absolutely are the runaway freight train for this. And it's all about not what's going on at Auburn. It's all about what's going on at Tuscaloosa. You know, there was a time at Alabama they made the same mistake. And it was during that period after Gene Stallings, during the Perkins, Curry, we can go all the way through Mike Price, you know, to Shula period, that either Pat Dye or Tommy Tuberville were embarrassing them. They did the same thing. Yeah. They were just as bad. Now, Saban corrected all of that. But, you know, that's what's going on around the country. And it's mystifying to me. But at the same time, if these guys, these donors, want to use their money that way, so be it. They want to go in that direction. I guess we thought they were going down the hall to get Kevin Steele. I think the published reports now are that they may not, and that he's out, and they're going to get somebody else. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess Billy Napier turned him down today, so that's a very Auburn thing.
Good for him. You know, this just in to my friends in at the pure playoff privileged schools. This just in, okay? You can get paid a lot of money and coach with a hell of a lot less stress in places other than the SEC. Now, okay, you can get paid a lot of money, coach with a hell of a lot less stress, and my friend Skip Holtz is over at Louisiana Tech. And Skip is probably, you know, he's a little probably south of $2 million a year. He's probably in that 1.5 to almost 2 area. But let me tell you, his quality of life in Ruston with a Fazio course just around the corner where he's living, he can rest comfortably. And if he can keep taking Louisiana Tech to bowl games, keep his streak alive, then he's going to be just fine. I think he cracked the code. You know, good for him. And a lot of other coaches feel similarly. A lot of it just depends on where you are and the quality of life you have. But it's one thing to say you're coaching at the highest level and to be at a, quote, SEC school. I get that. And God knows I grew up and cut my teeth through covering SEC football. But the landscape has changed. It's not the way it used to be. Okay? And a lot of fans don't know, nor do they care, and they don't have to care, Pat, that things have changed. But they have, you know, which, again, begs the question to me, Vanderbilt, how the hell can you not have an athletic department with all that money coming in?
There are a lot of things I can't
my big question of the SEC. Vanderbilt, why don't you have an athletic department? Yeah, you're getting a lot of money.
There's not many things I can explain about them. But, hey, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, man. It's great to have you on this new podcast that I'm doing. And
for you, man. Proud of you. This is wonderful.
Yeah, we'll get you on again down the road once we get back. Hopefully basketball season gets going. I mean, we've had a bunch of games, but Florida's only played 3 games with obviously the tragedy they had that actually turned out to be okay, I guess.
Is he doing okay?
Yeah, they had video of him dancing the other day. That was good to see.
You know, Michael White was at Louisiana Tech before he came here, and I've known Michael since he played at Ole Miss. In fact, his last game that he played, he got thrown out by John Clockerty for slamming the ball on a technical foul at the SEC tournament. I think the world of Michael, and I'm supposed to crank up with my basketball right after an NFL game I do on the 3rd of January, and then I'll be in the Big East and Big Ten a ton. I'm taking my tests twice a week. It might be 3 times a week once we get to hoops, because a lot of times I don't come home between games. But let's just hope, you know, we can keep this thing going and everybody gets better, has a healthy, happy holiday, and we can get to March this year and not have a day quite like March 12th of last year, which is a day I'll never forget.
Timmy B, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you giving us the time, man. Thanks a lot.
Pat, I'm here for you anytime. Just wind me up and let me know when you want me to go.
Thanks, buddy. We got to get one last break in, then we'll come back and we'll wrap up this edition of another Duly Noted podcast. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI. and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back. We're going to wrap up the show here by talking a little bit about Kyle Trask and his chances for the Heisman. But don't forget, you can watch this show every Monday and Friday. Now, we won't be doing a show Friday because of Christmas, obviously. Monday and Friday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on WRUF.com, where the back nine will be up, is up now. And there was only one more grade the Gators I have to do for the Cotton Bowl. That'll be the last one I do of that. Or wherever you're listening to your favorite podcast, like us, follow, subscribe, pass it along to some people that maybe, because we had great numbers when we were, obviously doing the podcast before, and I know they're going to be just as good now. I think some people are having a hard time trying to find where we are because they don't know. They know where I'm not. It's like the old joke. It's not I didn't lose my job. It's just that when I go there, somebody else is doing it. Although that's not even true yet. But anyway, so if you want to come on board as a sponsor, that'd be great too. We'd love to have you. Again, Robbie Andreu was on the show earlier. If you missed him, you can go back and listen to it. Great stuff from him, and we'd like to get him on every week. And we're on every Monday and Friday. Again, not this Friday, but every other Monday and Friday. So next Monday and Friday, and then the Monday and Friday after that. I did want to talk just a little bit in closing on Kyle Trask and his chance to win the Heisman. It's going to be tough for that to happen, but people look at things sometimes the wrong way, and I think they looked at that game as winner take all. If you win that game as a quarterback, you win the Heisman. And my prediction is that Mac Jones wins the Heisman. Even though Devontae Smith is now considered to be the favorite, I think they'll look at that quarterback situation. Because look, not everybody watched that game that votes. I have a big problem with the voting process for the Heisman people. I think they should cut it down to about 100 people that actually watch games instead of just a guy who used to be the obit writer in Topeka and they never took his vote away, but now he's he's living under a bridge somewhere. He's still voting on the Heisman. I don't know how he does it without the internet. That's quite a feat there. But the point is, I think it should be people that really are knowledgeable about it and pay attention to it and watch all the games and have it. You have to have at least 2 TVs to vote on the Heisman in your room. That's my new rule. Let's get that started. But there's like 900 voters and something voters because they want it to be more like, hey, look, we got a total cross section of some of these people don't watch football, but we got a cross section of it. So I'm not a big fan of that. And I think a lot of people are just going to say, well, Mac Jones won the game. Now, as one of our Facebook questions that came in earlier was about, is it possible that Mac Jones and Devontae Smith, take votes away from each other and then Kyle Trask sneaks in that way? And I think it is possible. In a way, it was hard not to vote for Kyle Pitts. He did miss 3 games, though, but then you could make the same argument with Trevor Lawrence, who missed 3 games. Certainly not. Neither case was it their fault. Guy cheap-shotted Pitts and knocked him out. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence had COVID, so he couldn't play. It's just the way this season has been. And I don't want to hear, though, from anybody, there's an asterisk by this Heisman or an asterisk by this season. There should be a exclamation point after this Heisman and after this season, because if you were able to do this and get through this, I mean, as fans, it was hard. I can't imagine what it was like as a player. When you're every morning you wake up and you don't know if there's going to be a game, tomorrow. Is there going to be a game? We don't know. Somebody may test positive on the other team. We don't know if there's going to be a game. And you've had to fight through this. And the team that ended up the best, what did we say when this started, the very beginning? The team that adapts the best will win a championship. Right now that team's Alabama. And I thought Florida did do a really good job adapting. They ran into two problems. One of them was the game against LSU, obviously, when probably didn't have all the, they let themselves down in that game. And then they just weren't good enough to beat the team that's going to win the national championship. They were close, but not good enough. Like I said, they're in that little cusp down in here. Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State. I don't know if I can put Georgia in there anymore. I think Georgia's out of that number one cusp. And Notre Dame kind of is in there. That's the thing about that the schools that are going to continue to do what they're doing and continue to do all the recruiting is that they're not just going up there once and then going out and having bad years. They're going up there and sticking in there. That's why it's hard to believe in LSU. They went 5-5 this year after, winning it all, going 15-0 last year. It was ridiculous. But Alabama doesn't have bad years. Ohio State doesn't have bad years. Those are the schools that continue to go. Clemson doesn't have bad years anymore. And the trouble is, as long as we have this broken system, and it's a broken system that's not going to get fixed, it's kind of like the Electoral College. No matter which side of the aisle you're on, the Electoral College is really stupid, the way they set it up. If you set it up today and you came up with that idea, people would say, you're out of your mind. No, you need to do this and this and this. Here's how you make it safer, a better way to decide who the president or anybody is. It's kind of what we have now. Well, we have this committee of, people that I think are really smart people and really good at their jobs. You got to let the little guys in once in a while, and eventually we've got to get to a bigger playoff, because as long as we have this 4-team playoff, which we were thrilled to finally get after having a 2-team playoff. We were thrilled to finally get a 4-team playoff, but okay, it's run its course now. We've seen that's not enough. That has actually killed college football. It's hurt it more than anything. That's my take on that. Good luck to Kyle Trask. Love to see him win the Heisman Trophy. We'll be back Monday with a brand new episode of another Duly Noted podcast. And Drew Copen from Sister Hazel is going to join me. We're going to do our annual picks contest. We'll also have another guest as well. He's beat me, I think, 3 in a row. I've got to beat him this year. I may have to dress up like something if I lose this time. I'll go the Doring route. But that's going to do it. Appreciate Evan, appreciate Freddie, appreciate everybody for doing a great job with this show. Of course, Robbie Andreu and Tim Brando as well. Until next time, I'm Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back. And I am out of here.